Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Growing Wild Farm and Garden, where I want to encourage you to grow wild and plant something. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the cowpea, or the black-eyed pea, or the field pea, crowder pea, southern pea. There's a bunch of different names for them. And in all actuality, they're not even a pea, they're a bean. But where I grew up, we called them black-eyed peas. That's what we ate, were the little white beans with little black, eye on them, and we called them black-eyed peas. But apparently elsewhere they call them all sorts of things. And I've actually got them growing behind me. So I wanted to go a little in depth with this one. I wanted to talk a little bit about the plant itself and give you a little bit more information about how to grow them, how I'm growing them, what they can be used for, etc. Because surprisingly, cowpeas can actually be used for a bunch of different things. One of those things actually being animal food. So that's a big plus for, little homesteaders or farm and garden, like us. For when we do get animals, it's a possibility that I can feed, this plant not only to my family, but also the animals. So, when we get rabbits, they could probably eat the leaves, maybe the leftover shells. Did you know that black-eyed peas or cowpeas can actually be eaten green, like green peas? They can be used like snap beans. Who knew these things? I didn't know these things when I was growing up. We just ate the dried or canned version. You can can them, you can freeze them, you can dry them, and drying them is why I'm growing them. So I'm actually going to take a lot of these when I harvest them. I'm going to dry them up and I'm going to put them into a jar or a Ziploc bag, and that's how I'm going to store mine. That's not to mean that I can't cook them into a stew or something else and freeze that if I want for a quick meal later, or something down the line in our freezer. Same thing goes for you. So trying to find a versatile crop, especially for homesteading on such a small area like we are with our 0.15 of an acre, is a great thing. So things like stews and soups plus the dried beans, or if we wanted fresh green peas, then we could use them for that. Those are all really great things that keep us from getting bored with them, for one, and give us a variety of ways to use them on the farm, so they're not just a one-stop thing. You can't just use them for one thing. I plan on using them as a dry bean, and if I can use them for the rabbits later, then I will, or if we get chickens, then I will, and that'll just be one less thing that I have to worry about giving grain or, bagged feed. The other really great thing about these is that they're heat and drought tolerant, which in our Oklahoma summers, that's amazing. That's a good thing, because that means I have to worry less about watering and being sure that they do well in the heat, because in our summers, it gets hot. It can get up into the hundreds with a humidity of 70-90%, something like that, anywhere in between. We walk into a wall of moisture. It's not like Arizona where it's a dry heat, and I've got friends there, so I can say that. It is a moist, tropical almost feeling, and it's not any fun to be in. Like, I'm already sweating right now. But these plants can handle that. So they're actually primarily grown in the South for that reason, traditionally. They're also, did you know that 90% of our black-eyed peas actually come from California? So, other than that, guys, that is a good amount of information about the cowpea in general. And if you ever want to try them, there are so many varieties out there. I just happened to get this tiny little square kind that are kind of fun, and once I get to try them, I'll have to let you know how they taste, but I'm pretty excited about the fact that they'll taste good based on everything I read on the internet. Can't always trust the internet, but I believe these people. Why not? They're gardeners. Why wouldn't I believe them? So, to grow them is super simple. At least it was for me. All I had to do was take these little seeds, and I started them in pots. I actually started them in pots inside before spring started really getting warm. and didn't have to do much to them. I just did like I did with all of my seeds that I had in pots versus my seed tray, and I put them in a gallon Ziploc bag inside the pot, watered down the soil, and put them in that greenhouse baggie and set them in a window, and that's it. And just like any other bean, they grew pretty well, and then I transplanted them outside a little bit late, which is why I think they're just starting to give me a harvest. I probably could have started harvesting 2 weeks, 3 weeks sooner had they actually gotten going a little bit sooner. But that is just the way life goes sometimes. So you can see that I originally planted them in just one drum. There were 7 plants in this one drum, and you can see that they have gotten huge. They've actually overtaken the scarlet runners a little, and they've crawled along the ground. So I can't even really walk through here, but we will. We'll step over and show you this side. And just look at how lush and green and insane they are. Now, let's look at the flowers and the pods. So here's a flower, and here are what are starting to be our cowpea pods. So the flower was pollinated, and these are the young pods just starting to grow. Now, they get big. Let's see if I can find you. There's one. And these are huge. I mean, look at that. And inside of here, each one of these little bumps is a seed, or what we eat, the black-eyed peas, or cowpeas, depending on what you're used to calling them in your area. And what they'll do is they'll sit here, and they'll be green, they'll plump up just like any other bean or pea. And what we're waiting on is for them to turn a little bit lighter in color. This one's not quite ready, it's more yellow than brown. And then eventually, we want them to turn like a light brown color. See, here's another one. It's a little bit more yellow than brown. I've picked a couple for you, so let's look at those. So here are 3 pods that I picked already this morning, right before I started shooting. So let's see if you can hear this. You hear that? That means they were ready. They're rattling, they're dry inside, but the actual pod hasn't split open yet, and that is the perfect time to pick them. What you'll do is you'll shell these just like any other shelling pea, which means that you'll take the shell off and you'll collect the seeds inside, and they should be ready to go. They shouldn't need any more drying time, as long as you can hear them inside. Northeast Oklahoma is where I am, and I grew 7 plants, and you saw how big and amazing they got, and they're putting on a lot of beans now. So I'm expecting a pretty good harvest this year. I didn't know how many to grow really for my family, but I just grew 7 because I didn't think I could grow many more for that size of a drum that I had them in. Which, I mean, I'll show you a drum size so you can get sort of a reference. So those are my drums that I use. They're 2 feet, 2 feet, and 2 feet going up and down. And that is what these are growing in. Then we developed a trellis with some of this garden wire and some old bed frame that my husband sort of worked into a stake that we actually that we screwed onto the drum. So then we just put the garden wire across the whole thing, put another bed frame stake down there, and voila, we have our trellis this year. So it's working out really well for us. So let's take a look at what it looks like when we harvest these black-eyed peas, or cowpeas, depending on where you're from. All right, so all it takes is, again, that rattle. Then you know they're ready. The easiest way I've been able to do this is to press along this long edge, just like this, and then take my fingernail the rest of the way. Sometimes they like to stick and then they'll pop out like that. And then just split them open carefully. Run your finger along the edge, but be sure to hold on, because the way they would normally split in nature is they would spring open, just like you can see how they're twisting. That twisting helps them spring open, which actually helps them spread the seed. So as you can see, they were like this, and it would have sprung open like that. So here's another one. We'll do it the way I normally do, just all the way down, and be careful of them just coming out at you. Like they're already landing in my lap right now. And there you go. That's off of 2 pods. And you can see how pretty these are. They're like a maroon and cream kind of colored. They're a little squarish, which is kind of fun to me. And these are, I'm not for sure, but I believe the Ozark Razorback cowpea, or what we like to call them, what I grew up calling everything, is a black-eyed pea, because of that little, what it looks like is a black eye. So now you know how to do your own. So now, once you've harvested them, you can put them into a jar with a lid and just keep them dry in a nice place, just like you would any of the other beans. Or you can put them in bags. Either way, it's just like any other black-eyed pea. You can can them, you can just keep them dry like I plan to, and use them how you normally would any black-eyed pea that you get from the store. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and if you did, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you get a notification every time I upload something new. I'm gonna keep at it, guys, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Until then, guys, I'll see you next time. Thanks.